Hello everyone, thank you for being here today. Today is the 2nd of December of 2023 and we are celebrating a very special day. Today we celebrate the Odour Day. And we have some interviews with some very special people that we would like you to know. But why the 2nd of December? A day like today, 32 years ago, in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, to be precise, the 2nd of December of 1991, at the same time that Mikhail Gorbachev, the president of the USSR, was thinking about resigning, a group of enthusiasts met to discuss about the first standard about odor concentration measurement. That was in 1991. 32 years later, the standard EN 13725 was born. Today, 33 countries of Europe and many other tens of countries outside Europe are using this standard or a similar one to measure odor concentration. Today we are going to have an interview with two of the members of that very first meeting that took place in 1991. They agreed to be here today to speak a little bit about this first meeting. So here you have to Mr. Tom van Harpel, convener of that meeting, and Ms. Imelda Shanahan, member of the group, both of them present in that very first meeting. And this is what we talked with them. Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you very much for being here. And today we have two very special guests for the celebration of the Odo Day. One is Tom van Harrewell, who was a convener of the first meeting in 1991, and the other is Imelda Shanahan, who was also there in that meeting. And because we wanted to celebrate this as the Odo Day, there were some uh, inside the Amigo. There were some discussions about what was going to be the Odo Day, and we decided that maybe this would be a nice date, the 2nd of December. The 2nd of December, you met to have your first development, international development, because you already had some standards published in Germany and in the Netherlands, as far as I know. But you first met to try to develop this, and I'd like to first ask you, Tom, what was your idea the first day you were there? Do you have any impressions of that first meeting? Did you think that you were going to produce a standard like the EN 13725 at that time?
Well, what I certainly didn't realize is that it would take, over 20 years to be in this job and to have so many meetings and with so many people. But yeah, the initiative was quite solid because it was presented by the Dutch standardization, and once it becomes a work item in SEN, well, as a convener, you have to go on a course because nobody teaches you anything. But you understand that it is quite organized and that you're in a machine, so something needs to be produced. So gradually all this landed on us, but we were all feeling around a little bit on what our job was and how it had to be done. And also, the whole conceptual side of the thing. I mean, it's built on consensus, and we first have to have a definition on consensus, which was the lack of sustained resistance. So we were really learning, but we learned fast.
Hmm. And what were you doing at that time? You were doing research, or you were already working at your company?
I was working at my company. I've always worked at my company from 1980 onwards. So I was already 12 years, 13 years as an independent company. And at that time, we were involved also in the development of instruments. So it was very, very relevant. And I was very happy to be in the middle of this and to meet so many people through this work who were also contributing to this, yeah, field that was just becoming applied in environmental applications. So it was really interesting.
Hmm. And you, Imelda, that was a long time ago, and maybe you don't have the memories in there, but how were you? Why did you go to this? Do you remember the reason, or you were sent there? It was your decision, or what's
Oh, I was
motivation?
definitely a little bit of both, but I remember the reason why I went. I don't have a huge amount of background information on the process, but we had just, I and a number of colleagues had just joined a new division in a company in Ireland that started to look at environmental research, odor control, environmental services. Odour was a big theme. It wasn't the only thing that they were looking at. There was another section and another group that were looking at water pollution and water pollution control. But having set up this group to do research on providing odour abatement systems, and then odour and air quality impact assessment services, we started to get interested in strengthening our knowledge. None of us had a long background in the area, but people had come from a diverse range of different backgrounds and were contributing. So that was really the reason why that we needed to participate in these types of groups, learn more, become aware of what was happening out there in terms of the standards development, things like that. And then I think we had met Tom and others, but Tom we had met on a training course that he had participated in and provided to members of the group. And I think that's probably how we got to know about the development of the standard and the group meeting. And then, you know, a bit like Tom, none of us had participated in that type of group before. So we had to make contact with the National Standards Authority in Ireland and the Department of the Environment, because they would normally be the organisations that would be charged with participation in these types of development projects. But they were delighted to find somebody who might actually attend and participate on behalf of Ireland. So that's largely how we got involved in it. And then I think over the years, it did go on for quite a long time. So I think over the years, maybe we had 4 different people from our organisation that were represented. Tom, you probably remember Breathe Brennan,
I
Nick
do,
Kenny.
certainly. Yep.
There were different people who went at different times. And well, that was the background to it. And then sadly, the company was a large semi-state organisation. It was Bornamona was the name of the company at the time. They went through various different reincarnations and reinventions, but eventually they decided that they were going to close their environmental services division. So that particular company is no longer working in this area. Haven't been for maybe 12 years. Just decided to go in a different direction and work on different things.
Yeah, thank you very much, Imelda. I'm checking right now, and I'm going to share the screen. Probably you know about this. Go here and here. I'm checking here. I don't know if you are able to watch this document that I'm showing right now with the people that participated the 2nd of December and 3rd of 1991. And these are the minutes of that meeting. And also here you have the resolutions of the first meeting, which they are available in the website olores.org if you want to have a look to them. So I see that many items were already included in that first meeting, and so all these terms and definitions, field of application, sampling strategy, sampling at point source, treatment of samples, description of dilution instrumentation, panel selection, data processing, calculation and reporting, calculation of emission rate by concentration, and key elements of traceability. And I also see that some of the the subjects that in this new standard, in this new EN 13725, they are also there. So the measurement of supra Odour thresholds, the dispersion modeling, field measurements, and static olfactometry measurements. And I see some very well-known people in here. So, all right. That was the first minutes and the first resolution that you had for on that meeting. And after that, you produced many minutes and many resolutions. And was there any moment, Tom, in which you thought, we are not going to do it? It's too many conflict, too many different points of view. We are going to reach consensus, as you like to say, or all the time you were thinking, no, we are fine, we will not have any problem, and we will produce a text to European.
Well, yes, I mean, we had a good starting point because there was a German standard, there was a Dutch standard, so we were not unprepared. But of course, you know, the starting position in the Dutch work was much more of people who were like-minded. There was more similar attitudes. But the job, if you get in an international institution like that, is very much, you know, like the job of a diplomat. You cannot think about not completing it. It is finding a way to complete it within the boundaries of the possible. So no, I was never fondant or pessimist about how to sort this out. But sometimes, you know, of course, as a convener, you have to be impartial, and I tried to be impartial and give everybody a stage. But you also have, of course, ideas how, you know, it would be done, and you also represent the interest of society at large. So the people who live next to a factory in the end are the stakeholders in this process. So I always try to keep them in mind and try to reach a solution that would provide enough accuracy to serve the purpose of regulation, which was the underlying task.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Imelda, so there were two Irish people in that meeting, right? Brita and you, right?
Breathe and myself. I mean, Breathe remembers going. I actually can't remember the meeting as such. I knew that I had been to it, but I don't have a
Memories.
recollection of it. It's too
It is
long
in a
ago.
paper. It is in a paper written that you were there, but that happens to me as well. Sometimes they say, "Were you here?" I don't remember. Yeah, and
I interacted with Breather recently just to see. She's working in a different work arena now, but I did contact her after I had provided you with the details. So her strongest memory is how efficient and organized Tom was as a convener.
oh,
She felt that this was her prominent memory of the process, that you were very efficient and that you kept the group on track and focused on trying to achieve what the ultimate objective was. So she shared that piece of information with me. And then after Breathe and I had left the organization that we were working for at the time, I think Nick Kenny took over the role after that. So then there was a third person who was attending.
okay. I actually spoke with Ralph, and he mentioned me also the anecdote that there were 3 Italians in that meeting, and he mentioned me. I don't know if he remembers, if he recalls well or not, that the 3 Italians after the meeting they said, "Oh, this standard is not for us, so we are not coming anymore to to the standard." Was that the case, Tom?
Well, I don't particularly remember, but interest goes up and down, and attitudes of countries depend very much on the people who attend, because also the institutions and national standardization offices depend on volunteers. It's all volunteer work, so sometimes you get more, let's say, colorful delegates than at other times, and with different backgrounds, different experience. So we had more difficult times and easier times, and certainly the weight of the southern countries has increased over time, because at that time in Italy it was not really an issue. In Spain, not at all. In France, it was a state issue. It was dealt with by the Institute of Nuclear Research. So we got very heavy scientific input from there, but they thought it would all be done in the French way. So yeah, you had very different attitudes and backgrounds, and but that makes the job interesting.
Oh yeah. And did you get to? Do you remember if you got to meet often every year, or because it really took 10 years, right, more or less? This meeting was in 1991, and the standard is from
Uh,
2002. 11 years, right?
yeah, we met several times a year, about 2-3 meetings a year,
Hmm.
and later
Oh,
that became, I think, even a bit more frequent. Uh, but um, but yeah, it was at least 2 meetings a year, and you needed time in between to process.
yeah. Oh, so it's the same system than in the second part of the EN 1372.5, more or less,
Yeah,
before the pandemic.
yeah. That was late in the game,
Mm, yeah. Okay.
and then we learned how to meet online, which was a completely different ball game.
Mhm. So, Imelda, Tom, or I go with you, Imelda. I don't know if you realize that after 2002, when the EN 1372.5 was published, afterwards, many other countries who are not European started to adopt this standard as a de facto standard in their own countries, like Australia, like in Chile, like in Colombia, like in Peru, like in USA with the STM. So were you aware of the impact that this standard, international standard, was going to have in other countries around that didn't have this methodology before?
I think I would certainly have been aware of the potential for that to happen. I know that in Ireland we would rely very heavily on international experiences and standards, and we'd try to bring them on board and try to adopt them wherever possible. And prior to this standard being published, everything was actually about the Dutch standard. All of our references would have focused very heavily on the Dutch standard, which I think for lots of different reasons we felt suited it suited our national experience a bit better, and we had a certain familiarity with it. But yes, I think that we probably were aware that there was potential for the standard to become very widely applied.
Mhm. All right. Now in Ireland, it's applied in a normal basis, right? But there is no legislation in Ireland related to odor labels, right? For
None
example,
at the moment.
environmental authorization. Yeah.
There is a revision of the Air Pollution Act, the primary piece of legislation, and it's nearly ready. They're saying that they'll publish it for consultation next year, and I believe that they're making an attempt, but the final decision has been made yet. but they're attempting to include a little bit more detail in relation to odors in that.
Okay. And you, Tom, were you aware of these international consequences that this standard would have in other countries? Or did you
Well,
expect
and we
this?
started to receive quite a bit of interest. What's happening, what's in there, and in particular through the conferences, the international conferences of the International Water Association, IWA. They made a conference on odor and VOCs related to wastewater, and that was a platform where there was a lot of exchange about this standard. And also in Australia, they had real issues. It started to become a topic there in various states, so it was debated very lively. And so yeah, the interest was there, and in the standardization world, it's always a question: what is it going to be? A sense standard or an ISO standard, or is it going to be adopted, or this or that? But ISO is, of course, is important scientifically, but that needs other participation of countries like Japan and China and Russia. And over there was in Japan, they had it sorted. They were way before us in defining an approach to odors, which I later learned, which was very interesting. And in Russia and China, there was simply no interest. So it stayed within SEN. And I think many countries realized that it was just too big a bite to take, to start from scratch. And so it was adopted. But it was good because it's a compliment. If a standard gets adopted, it means it's workable.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Okay, at that time, there was going to share my screen. There's here. At that time, there was an event because the president of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics was resigning, Mikhail Gorbachev. That was a long time ago. And here in this picture, there was the referendum in Ukraine. Ukraine is now having a different story at this stage. And so I think the world was changing, and it is amazing that the standard like this is applicable to 33 countries in Europe. And I think that what you actually achieved was a great success, and so we wanted to make this small celebration of that date, and I wanted to say thank you to you, Tom, to you, Imelda, for being here and explaining a little bit and speaking a little bit about your very old memories in the past on this standard. I think we are going to finish here because there will be other videos here after this. So thank you very much for being here, for participating in this small interview, informal interview, because I'm not a journalist and sometimes it's difficult to do this kind of stuff. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a wonderful day today, and that this standard that is already in their second edition goes further and it gets further developed, and we get more success, and we have a better work with better managed others. Thank you very much to you, the two of you. Thank you very much, Tom. Thank you very much, Imelda. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Carlos,
Carlos.
for taking care of the heritage of this scientific work. Odour and heritage are now connected. I was yesterday in a meeting of 160 people.
Go ahead, yeah.
Odour in museums and so forth, but this is a separate little corner of heritage, and it's very good that we found someone to curate that, and you're certainly the curator of this world, Carlos. So thank you for that, and a great pleasure to see you again, Imelda.
And likewise.
And now we would like to introduce you to the group that has developed the world's first international handbook focused on the assessment of odor exposure through the spatial modeling. A total of 35 regular meetings were carried out for 3.5 years, plus many tens of task group meetings. The group has produced a very nice text that I'm going to show you now. What you see here is has 424 pages, 8 chapters and 2 appendices. Zoom in a little bit. And here you have the 8 chapters, the 2 appendices. And this is the convener, Jennifer Barkley. We will talk with her now. And these are the 7 task groups that we created. The task group leaders were Imelda Shanahan from Ireland, Lauren Trick from USA, Jennifer Barkley from New Zealand, Roberto Velasio from Italy, Gianni Tinarelli from Italy as well, Giuseppe Brusasca from Italy, Rodrigo Rosales from Chile, Jordi Galvin from Australia, and Silvia Trini Castelli from Italy, and myself from Spain. I'm going to move on to here. I would like to introduce you to this group and the work that they did. Here you have. Thank you very much for being here. Jenny, I'd like to first to ask you, what do you think about this, the work of this handbook, and which do you think are the steps in the future to work on this handbook? What do you think? And which were your challenges as convener, as one of the conveners in this development?
Well, look, I think I concur with what Sylvia said. It's taken us a long time, but I don't think we could have done better in, with all of us working outside of hours and fitting it in around our jobs. For me, I think the handbooks, I'm very pleased with it. I think it's really come together. I was a bit skeptical in the first 6 months that we were really going to be able to put something together, but everybody's sort of risen above, and it's really neat. I think we've got something really, really good here. And so I'm proud of it. I think we've done a great job. As far as convenering goes, well, Carlos, you've been amazing. I've followed much along with what you've suggested and said, and I've written agendas and minutes, and you've always had to review and check them because I get out of line. And but it's been a pleasure, and it's been a pleasure working with everyone. So I think we've done a good job, and I think for how we've done it, we've done well. And so yes, I'm proud of it. Hope that answers your question.
Yes, you did perfectly. So for any of you, what do you think it is? Would be maybe the next steps after also presenting this development in conferences that we already mentioned? Do you have any other idea? No?
I think I'll just make one other observation. I think I'm very pleased that we have the scope in there to say what the document is and isn't. I think that's really important. We've been very clear what the document is saying, and we've been very clear about what it isn't there to do. And so for me, that was really important. I didn't want people to pick it up and be very critical without seeing, well, how did these people put this together? People from all over the world and different cultures and different languages. So that's all in there, and I think it helps to make the document really neat and concise. And and that really finished it off for me, was to have that clarity about what it is we're trying to do.
Very nice, Jenny. I think all the group did a wonderful work, and I agree. The text is 424 pages long, so it's really a huge amount of work, and I think that is amazing. This amazing. Anyone else have any comment on this?
I have just a small comment that is let's keep in touch. I mean, there was the option to build a sort of community working together in these couple of years, and would be nice to have a sort of a group that keep updated about everything that goes around odors and nuisance.
And our last interview will involve a very special person, Ms. Vania Soric, who is a Chilean odor expert that happens to be also the president of the International Environmental Society of Odor Managers, the AMIGO for its acronym in Spanish. And she's going to speak a bit about the AMIGO so that you know a bit more about this. Enjoy it! Thank you very much for being here, Vania.
Thank you, Carlos.
And I'd like to make you a few questions. Like the first one would be, why Amigo? Why creating of association?
Well, as you may know very well, because there were a need, and because we are an association whose objective is aimed at reducing the asymmetry of information, mainly in the efficient management of odors, facilitating a space for collaboration and problem solving for our associates, providing support and ethical, technical, and legal guidance. From what we perceive as technical needs, we collect and highlight market needs. We share and exchange knowledge. We provide advice and technical assistance requested. We collaborate with public and private entities. We provide support and guidance to our associates. And also, we seek to keep our associates up to date on the latest news, regulations, and technologies related to odor management. That's summing up.
Very good. Very good summary of the activities that Amigo is carrying out. And actually, this is going to be my next question. Which are actually the initiatives carried out by Amigo in this very short history of this association?
Well, to tell you the truth, depending on our volunteers who give their knowledge and time, we seek to promote, develop, and disseminate the importance of proper odor management. Proof of this is that we have generated until now as basic guides, which is mainly focused on information on how odors are measured, handbooks, which are specialized guide in a specific field, events, fairs, relevant training, international arena, international conferences that seek to disseminate technical and scientific knowledge, webinars on specific topics, highlight markets need to promote management. For example, the UNE 77270, which is the newest standard on citizen science, which is the first one also. It's a really proud, very proud of our Amigo association. And promote development and raise awareness about the importance of odor management in the environment, Carlos. I would say those are the main initiatives until now.
Okay, thank you very much, Vania. And what do you think, which are the challenges ahead for the Amigo Association? What do you think that would be the challenges?
Well, from my point of view, would be achieve cross-sectoral integration, include more and more professionals from many other latitudes who are exposed to these challenges in different industries, realities, climates, and geographies. Shorten the learning curve through the experience of hosts, of those who have taken this a step before many of us, and had experiences to define what works and what hasn't worked.
Mm.
So it's my idea.
All right. So, many challenges ahead.
Yes.
Okay, and Vanya, how does it feel to be president of an international association?
Well, mm, from my personal point of view, it's a gift and an honor that so many professionals adhere to this meaningful work. And it's also a challenge to stay up to date, to raise concerns and address them. It's a really challenge.
Mm. Yeah. Uh, because in this association there are people from everywhere, right? From many
Yeah.
countries. How often do you meet?
Every 2 months
Hmm?
with
Yeah.
with all the members.
Hmm?
And by the way, we have until today more than 30 members,
Hmm?
which includes private organizations, government organizations, and consultants from countries such as Colombia, Uruguay, Chile, Spain, and Italy. So we are forming a very, very nice and from wider latitudes, which is
Hmm?
very
Very,
enrichment.
very nice. Oh, just for the people to know a bit about you, do you have any hobbies or personal interests apart from on the other world?
Okay, well, working with my dog every morning, a good conversation, and personal and spiritual development.
Very
Not in
nice.
that order
No.
necessarily.
Okay. All right. And I have one last question for you. Is there any message from you for the upcoming generations of other managers that are what things do you think what things would you recommend them to do you have anything to tell them?
I think that other management is an art. So there's nothing written. So I would invite you to continue on that path and develop your own. This field of other management is in an early development stage. So we have all fields to develop and grow up and going further. So I invite many people, to all of them, to join this very, very nice field and challenge.
Thank you very much, Vanya. Thank you for your time,
Okay.
for being here. And
Thank
I
you,
hope you have
Carlos.
a wonderful other day today, actually.
You too.
I hope this the best of success for this Amigo International Environmental Association of Other Managers. And I invite everyone to join in because this is an open association, right? So anyone can join in, right? You don't need to be Spanish speaking to be member of this association, right?
Yes, it's fun. It's open to everyone, no matter what languages, country, or religion. We are open-minded. Okay.
Thank you very much, Vanya. Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much for your
Carlos.
time, and I hope to this the best of the success for this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Carlos.
I hope you enjoyed these interviews. I wish you a wonderful day, fantastic Christmas. Bye.